Hello everyone, in this tutorial what I'll be covering is PHP Forms, and PHP Forms allows us to take input from the user and store that information in a file, a database, or some other location. Now probably up to this point you probably haven't seen that many useful things you can do with PHP other than probably the include command or arrays or the echo command. But now you will learn how to actually take input from the user by creating a form on your website and doing something with that information. So let's just go ahead and get started. As you can see here, I have a basic HTML page I already coded out. And the reason I have this page coded this way is because this first section of code that I'm going to show you isn't going to require any PHP. So the first thing I'm going to type is a less than sign. Then I'm going to say form action is equal to form underscore success. And I'll explain what all this means in a second after I type it out. And then I'm going to say method is equal to post. Then I'm going to say greater than. I'm going to go to the next line and say first name is equal to input type is equal to text. Then I'm going to say name is equal to first name. Put a slash, greater than sign, then a line break. And then just to speed up things here, just going to copy that line. And here I'm going to change this to last name. And I'm going to change this name over here to last name. Then I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to change this to email. So I'm collecting the first name, last name, and the email address. And I'm going to change this to email. And then lastly, I'm going to say input type is equal to submit. Put a slash, then a greater than sign. Then I'm going to finally end this form. All right. So let me clean up some space here. All right, so let's quickly reevaluate here. So starting at the top, I indicate that I'm about to start a form, and then next I say action. Now this action actually tells us where we want to send our information when the user hits this submit button. So here I'm going to have to create this file next called form underscore success, as this is where we're going to send the information that the user types in, such as their first name, last name, and email. Then next we have this method. And the method we'll get more into in the next tutorial, but we have two method types. We can send it by post or we can send it by get. And again, don't worry about that in this tutorial. Next, we just have some inputs, and the type of input is a text field, and you can indicate that here. So if you're not familiar with forms, again, you have different types of input types. You can have a text field, you can have a text box, you can have a radio button or a drop down list. All the different things you used to send for forms, you can do that here, but here I'm just using some basic text fields to make things easier. Next, I'm given a name for these individual text fields, as when we send this information over to our other file, we need to know which text field we're dealing with. So here I'm just indicating a name, and you can think of this as a variable. So we're taking the information that they're inputting into this text field and we're storing it into this variable I declared as first name. So here on the next line, I'm doing the same thing here, but I made this variable called last name just to make it easier to know which text field I'm dealing with. So again, here I did the same thing with email. And then finally, we create a submit button. And that's the end of this form once we reach this line. So what I'm going to do here is actually save this and show you what this looks like in our browser. I'm going to call it form.php. And I'm going to go over to my browser, type localhost. I'm going to say the PHP basics. And let's do just form, hit enter. And as you can see, we have our basic form here. And if we hit submit, it's going to go to object not found because we have not created this page yet. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so let's go back. So I'm just going to create another blank document. All right, so on this document, I'm just going to go ahead and paste what we had on the other page, except I'm just going to delete this part because we don't really need that. And here I'm going to say hello. Then I'm going to start a PHP scripting block. I'm going to say echo $_post. And then I'm going to open a square bracket. I'm going to hit double quotes. Then I'm going to type first name. Type another double quotes, close my square brackets, put a semicolon, then end my scripting block for there. Then I'm going to put a comma and I'm going to say your email. Then I'm going to put another comma. Then I'm going to start another PHP scripting block, and I'm going to say echo $_post, start my square bracket, type email. Don't forget your double quotes inside there. Put a semicolon in that scripting block. Put a comma. Has now been added. That's all I'm going to type there. All right, so let's quickly reevaluate what we have here. So again, I just have some basic text here. Hello. Then if we skip the PHP part, we have comma, your email, and then comma has now been added. Nothing really significant about that. But now we have this PHP scripting block, and I've typed it this way just to save space. But if you closely look here, I just have my starting delimiter, then I have an ending delimiter, then I just have a echo string here. All right. So if we look at the echo part, it does look a little funny because of this _post part. But the reason it's $_post is because we sent over our information using the post method. And again, I told you it was 2 different methods you can send information over, but we sent it by post, so we have to indicate it by saying _post. Now, going back to our form.php file, as you remember, I declared a name for each one of these text fields. Here I said first name, here I said last name, and here I said email. So when we send this information over, again, we need to have some kind of way of referencing these different text fields so we can do different things with each one. So if I go back over here, I'm indicating here by the open square bracket, double quotes, then the name, I'm indicating by this name that I want to use the first name's data, or whatever the user typed in the first name text field. I want to use that information here. So then I just end that by typing another double quotes, then a closing square bracket. So if we go back to my browser, and if I typed in Robert here, it's going to basically take Robert and replace this entire PHP scripting block. And it's going to say, hello, Robert, your email. And then if we go here, and if I had, going back to my browser, typed in an email address over here at gmail.com, again, it's going to take that information and replace what we have here. All right, so it should be straightforward, but if not, again, just watch the video again or try it out for yourself, as I think when you actually try things, it starts to sink in a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is just save this. I'm going to save it as form_success.php. Again, that's what we indicated as our action for our form.php, as you can see here. So I'm going to go over to my browser. I'm going to go ahead and type in some information. I'm going to say Robert Smith. Then I'm just going to put in a fake email here at Gmail. Then I'm going to hit submit. And as you can see, it says, hello, Robert, your email fake@gmail.com has now been added. So as you can see, as I just indicated, it's just replacing these PHP scripting blocks with the information we sent over. All right, but as you can see, I'm not using last name here. It doesn't matter if we sent over last name. If I don't indicate here that I want to use that information that I sent, it's just going to ignore it and just continue to execute the rest of the code here. So let's say that we happen to create a typo. For example, let's say I said first name number 2 here and email 2. All right, and I hit save on that one, and I hit the back button in my browser. Let's go ahead and refresh that. And I type Robert. I'm just going to skip last name since we're not doing anything with that anyway. I'm going to say fake@gmail.com, and I hit submit. As you can see, it says hello blank, comma, your email blank has now been added. Because when we go back over to form success, it's looking for something called first name. It's looking for example, a variable called first name, and it doesn't see that. The information that we sent over has a name called first name 2. It has last name email 2. So when we go back to form success, these 2 post variables, is another way you can think about it, do not exist, or we're not sending over any post variables called first name and email. We're sending over a post variable called first name 2. If I put 2 here, and a post variable called email 2, and I hit save, and I hit the back button and hit submit, and as you can see, now it's added. So that's something else that you have to look out for. Make sure if it's not appearing there, make sure you typed it out correctly using the same name. Now, typically for websites where you're storing information in a database, such as you're having a registration form or a sign-in form, you'll have all this information such as hello, your email has now been added in the same file as the form. So for example, I wouldn't create this form success page, but I have all that information in the same file some type of way. So this is really great for validation because all the error messages will be displayed on the same page as the form. Now that's kind of stepping into the more advanced side, so I won't really get into that, but just wanted to explain to you that if we wanted to, we could actually send all this information to the same page by actually typing in form.php, or what I've found that is also possible is just by leaving action blank, not putting anything there. So again, we would probably, if, for example, just to give you an example how we would do something like that, I'm not going to write it all out, but first we would need to actually have some type of if condition. And we just basically need to check to see if user has pressed submit button. And then after that check, we would actually, for example, if I go back to my success page, copy that information and type it here, indent that some, and then I would close my curly brace. After we check that, we'll go ahead and display this. So what that's doing is once we load this form.php file, we don't want this information to be displayed yet. We want it to be displayed after the user has hit this submit button. And obviously here, if they, for example, didn't input a first name or a required field, you can also have different conditions here just to check and display an error message. But again, that's going more into the advanced side, but just wanted to let you know that this is where all that starts to happen when we start to deal with PHP forms. So that does conclude this tutorial, and hopefully now you have a better or a new understanding about PHP forms. So be sure to take the online quiz at thephpbasics.com to ensure you understand these basic concepts, and I will see you in the next video.